Okay, so this is my reflection for complications in the first stage of labor. I had recently seen a complication during the first stage. It was mainly um, slow progression, some type of dystocia, and fetal heart tone started to kind of tank. So it all started on a Sunday afternoon with a first time mama who contacted us and said that she was having contractions 2 minutes apart. We were all kind of like taken aback because it's not super typical of a first time parent to like all of a sudden be in labor, but that's what happened. No water breaking or anything like that. And she was like, yeah, they're 2 minutes apart. I'll let you guys know if things get more intense because I'm still able to talk through them. So we were like, great. So it was like 2 hours later, not that long, and she contacted us again and said, when do you guys come? You know, starting to ask those questions of like, okay, I think she's ready for someone to be with her. So the nurse midwife that we work with headed over there and checked her, I would say around 7 o'clock, and she was 5 centimeters. So we were like, okay, like, things are definitely moving along. I was planning on going to the birth, so I started to get ready. I was an hour away, so I started to get ready, and around 8:30, she was like, yeah, like, she's working a lot harder through contractions. So we were like, great. So I headed over there. I was about probably 20 minutes away, and the nurse midwife texted us and said she's now 7 centimeters. She's feeling a lot of pressure, so still some cervix to get out of the way, but she seems to be clipping along really well. So we were like, great, we're gonna get there. She's gonna move that cervix right out of the way, and we're gonna have a baby, and everything's gonna be great. You never think that. You never say that with a first time mom because it never goes that way. So I arrived. They were in their bathroom in the tub. Everything was going really well, and a couple hours later, she asked to be checked again because she was feeling a lot more pressure, and she was still 7. There was a long season of her being 7 centimeters. After I got there, right after I got there, my preceptor arrived. So it was myself as a student, my preceptor, and the nurse midwife. And she was 7 centimeters for a really long time. Like 6, 7, 8 hours, with some cervical ripening that was happening. So we were like, there is some change. The Oxorn book, I never know if I'm saying that right, but Oxorn book states that there should be 0.5 centimeter every 4 hours. So we were definitely beyond that like normal scope of what's happening, but baby sounded really good. Mom sounded fine. There was no other issues with the cervix. Things were just kind of slow. So we were willing to kind of hang out and see what happened. So after a really long period of her being 7 centimeters, she all of a sudden jumped to 9 centimeters pretty quickly with just a little bit of a cervical lip at 9. So she was like 9.5. And we were like, great, wonderful. Things are now moving past that 7, and we're going to go into potentially pushing soon. So that didn't happen. She ended up having swelling of her cervical lip. In addition to that, she started to state how she was really fearful for the baby, that she was scared that something was wrong with the baby. Which we always really listen to because the moms and babies are connected. So is that baby trying to tell us something? It's very possible. So we actually got her cervical swelling down by using Benadryl. We used 1 dose of Benadryl, and the cervical swelling went away, and baby's heart rate, we got the cervical swelling to go away, and then she was fully 10 centimeters, and she started pushing, and that's when baby's heart rate started to tank. So we were like, okay, like, if you can't get this baby out in the next couple pushes, like, we need to transfer. And that's exactly what we did. We ended up transferring. they got to the hospital, and baby was born pretty quickly, vaginal delivery. The hospital wasn't concerned with the baby's heart rate. They said baby was sounding fine. She pushed the baby out though, and it was a full-on resuscitation, which was kind of shocking because the hospital wasn't concerned with the heart tones. We were concerned with the heart tones, but the hospital wasn't. So baby was born. It was a full resuscitation. Baby was unable to breathe on his own for almost 7 days. He spent a full 2 or 3 weeks in the NICU. So we were incredibly grateful that this baby was not born at home. But that first stage of complications of like a really slow progression and then stalling for so many hours and then a swelling, in my mind as a student, I think it's really important to listen to those cues, being really intuitive and connecting with the baby and being like, okay, well, like, great that we're able to get these complications, these things out of normal resolved, but is the baby trying to tell us something? Is the body trying to tell us something that this baby should not be born at home? And in my opinion, that is what was happening. That there was all these stalls along the way because the baby was really trying to communicate, and the body was trying to communicate something with us that this wasn't a great place for this baby to be born. So I'm really grateful for that experience, and taking, like, as midwives, we often are very intuitive, but taking that intuitive aspect of who we are as midwives and putting it together with the clinical aspect was a really big learning experience for me. We debriefed this birth afterwards, and I said to my preceptor and the other nurse midwife, like, I think we should have transferred earlier. Like, great that we got the cervical lip resolved, great that we got the swelling resolved, great that we did all these things to help baby along, or help mom along to be able to start pushing, but was that the right call? So it was a really big learning experience for me as a student to put all of this emotional and this clinical aspect together, and everything that we've been learning about why is baby's heart rate tanking, was baby OP, things that we just never really found out about the birth. But it was a really good learning experience, taking all this information from the class of complications that could go wrong along the way and being like, okay, we have all these things, let's put them all together and we can see that this really needs to be a transfer. So yeah, it was a great experience, great learning experience, and that is my reflection for the week.